Hi, Michael.
Hey,
Good
how's it going?
morning. It's going great. So I'm really excited about this meeting because let's start by introducing ourselves first, right? And I'm just gonna share with you how I came across your profile, how I found you on the internet, and so I'm running this newsletter for digital nomads where we talk about the digital nomads lifestyle, right? And I want to create more content for my audience in terms of how they can actually make a living, how they can become, and how they can do this, how they can obtain, like, get a real job or a remote job, and get into this lifestyle and get more experiences from people who have already walked the walk, like people who have done this for more than just a few days and have been out there and traveling, their challenges, their achievements, and all of that. And so the idea came up to talk to. I found you on Wednesday, which is this influencer app where I found your profile. I digged into your stuff. I found a few videos. One of them, in one of those videos, you shared that you're not a digital nomad anymore, but for some reasons I can totally relate to. We can talk about this later, and then I found out your other website, Find Purposeful Work is the name,
Find
right?
fulfilling work, yeah.
Sorry, Find Fulfilling Work, which also resonated a lot because it's not just about the money. You want to have something that's also aligned with your purpose and your passion and your philosophy, right, about life and everything. And so, and then what also is a thing for my audience is mainly male. I have 90% of my audience are men. And one of the things I've discovered by talking to them is, and I'm not only referring, like, talking on through the newsletter online, but also like the people that I've met on my journey, like in these different countries where I've been, and I've been in a lot of countries, and there's this common theme. Most guys, like nomads, there's first of all there's this misconception out there that when you hear digital nomad lifestyle, is that okay, now there's this guy in Bali under a palm tree with his laptop working an hour, and then the rest of the time he's just I don't know. And that's not true. That's just not true. Most nomads actually work more than normal people, like people in traditional jobs. And most guys, that when they choose to become, when they do this, when they decide, okay, now I'm gonna go full in. I take this risk because it's scary, right? If you don't know, most of the often you have to, I don't know, you quit your job, or you walk away from this security illusion, and then they do this because they usually, it's not because it's because of that fantasy of what's out there, but because they're walking away from some toxic environment or situation they just not don't want to tolerate anymore. That's the common theme that I've noticed a lot, and it resonates with most guys that I've met. They just don't want. They're fed up. It's either because they don't feel okay in this 9 to 5 job, and they don't see a future there anymore, or they have dating is not working there, and we fed up with dating in the West. They want a family and don't see that happen, or they just inflation too expensive, like just too expensive. If you compare the cost of living in the US right now, or in Germany where I am from, compare that to Thailand or Indonesia, it's fucking crazy, man. I mean, you see this is here, this I pay like $300 for that, and it's with an
Jesus.
infinity pool on top. Whereas in the US, I would pay like 3,000 for the same thing, right? And so just completely different worlds. And so those are the motivators. And the reality is that most guys go become nomads because of that, right? So this is really the driving. The why is really very important, because most people, they often just they ask how, but never ask why, you know.
Mm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and and, and so that's why I want to ask why. And then in your case, I just saw that your profile, and I thought you're doing something that's really, I think it's really interesting, and it's helping people to get what they need, which is what I wanted to talk, which why I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so why I do what I do is two parts. One is when I was growing up, first generation American, my family was from Iran. There was nobody to tell me like about give me any sort of good career advice. Neither of my parents took me aside and said, "Hey," other than like be a doctor or a lawyer. That's the only advice they had, which I didn't do either. Um, so there wasn't any good career advice, and I was stressed, depressed in college. I almost dropped out. Had no idea what I was doing after. Did several different jobs. I was substitute teacher, medical scribe. I lived in Spain for a year teaching English. Um, Tried a bunch of different things. I got to list them all out. But aside from jobs, also side hustles. I tried copywriting. I tried starting my blog, setting things up, selling things on Etsy. Like all aside from drop shipping because it was too expensive. Yeah. Um, that's first why. And the second why I do what I do is because most of our lives is work. You sleep 8 hours a day. You got 8 hours to shower and buy food and go to the bathroom and spend time with friends. But then the other 8 hours are some sort of work. And I don't think we were meant to just sit on a beach and like I would get bored doing that. Um,
Can't do it. No, it's
and
impossible.
yeah, and so you know, half of your half of our lives is work because you spend 8 hours sleeping. You're not even awake for that, so we're not even going to count the sleep. So you have 16 hours of awake time, of time that you're conscious, and so 8 hours of that is working. And from what I've seen, the people who love what they do the most work a lot. They like some of the most successful we people hear about Elon Musk, Mr. Wonderful, like all these people. They love their work and it's a contribution to society. It connects you with people. What you do for work can define who your friends are, who you end up in a relationship with. Um, that's why I stopped. I when I was substitute teaching, I was like, oh, I don't want to be a teacher because these are going to be the people that I'm going to hang out with, and they were just people who just didn't enjoy what they were doing. So
Yeah,
those are those two reasons why I do what I do.
yeah. I totally agree. That's really important. I mean, and I think this is true for most people. I mean, there's there's this full purpose-driven, fulfilling part that we all need to cover in some way. Like, and then there's the this passion, which is not necessarily the same, right? And then you also want to hit something that's also monetizable, meaning that people need it because I was I'm gonna share my. I did photography for a few years because of my passion, and when I started out doing photography, I was happy doing this. First of all, I started out because I needed something that would give me some, let's say, like balance the stress life that I was experiencing from my company, from my previous company, Nano Depot in Mexico. And so I needed something that would give me this connection to nature. And so I was looking or searching a spiritual relief, right? So something that would allow me to be more present in the, and not so stressed, not live such a stressful life anymore, or at least get some space where I could be more creative but not working, like. And so that's how I, but that's not a, but I found out that, well, I became sort of known in the space with 80,000 followers on Instagram. I did a lot of workshops with some famous photographers, and then the pandemic hit, and I lost everything. With my company went out of business. And then also my, and couldn't travel anymore. My landscape travel photography was put on hold, and everything crumbled. And after that pandemic, when I lost everything, I tried to monetize that skill, that photography skill, but I failed miserably because it's so hard to sell prints because nobody needs it. And so it can be your passion. It can also be feel fulfilling, but not necessarily monetizable. You know what I mean? So the sweet spot is somewhere in between, where you and I think for most people out there. So if you're listening right now, I mean, if you tune into this podcast or into this interview because you want to find out what to do with your life, then keep looking. I mean, it's really just, I mean, you cannot know until you find out. I tried many, after the bankruptcy, I tried drop shipping too. I tried Etsy, selling on Etsy. I paid a fucking $2,000 for a guy who told me that my prints can sell on Etsy very well. Neither happened. And then I went, yeah, and I went into hotel photography. And so until I finally said, okay, stop, right, stop what you're doing, um, take a breath, and just like, and then I started writing down my thoughts and to my younger self, my experiences, but still traumatized from that experience from the bankruptcy. And then this is how my newsletter started, and now it's growing. My newsletter, happily, I'm super happy that it's growing now, and so now I just need to double down on making better content that's useful to guys who want to also engage into in this lifestyle, because I think there's a lot. I mean, this is not only a trend. I think this is going to continue to. I can share some stats on really interesting stats about nomads. Like the seven. Most people wouldn't know that. First of all, 90% of nomads are men. Like 90.
Mm.
I feel I would have guessed like 60, 70, but 90. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But it's true. Most nomads, as opposed to the what I mentioned before, as opposed to this fantasy image of a guy on the beach in Bali, most nomads work a lot more than normal 9 to 5 employees. They usually work more than 10 hours per day. Only 7% of digital nomads return to their traditional jobs once they became nomads. Only 7%. It's amazing. Like they never go back to where they came from. 74% make under 50,000 a year. And most nomads also suffer from loneliness and burnout. We want to talk about that a little bit later because it's important. And right now, as we speak, there are around 35 million estimated nomads out there, and the number itself is high, but doesn't tell you much unless you compare it to the previous year when it was 17. So it doubled in one year, which I find quite very surprising. It's also astonishing. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why is that happening, right?
Yeah. I feel like social media is a big part of it because that's where we learn lots of things naturally. It's not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah, but it's also false because that's where these Instagram reels in Bali come from, and everyone I mean, so cute, I'm on that, in fact, and then it doesn't tell you the whole story, because not everyone is gonna make it as a creator, or as and then you still need to so people struggle with this. I mean, because they want to, but I don't want to know. I don't know how many people, guys, right now have been fantasizing about the idea, but haven't taken the leap to do this because they are it's just too risky, you know.
mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, like I mean, being a creator, even I think like, well, what if when can I keep doing this? Like, what about when I'm like 50 years old or something? Like, my account could just get deleted like that and then it's over. So that's always like a concern. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's no downside to developing a personal brand in
mhm,
2024. I think everyone should do it in some way or form. I mean, this is well, again, I'm gonna just from my personal experience. Well, you can have a company. My company was in Mexico was actually pretty big. I had 70 employees. We have branches in the U.S. and in the South America, most countries, and I made almost $10 million with that company. But when that was gone, then it was gone. When what was gone was all the material stuff. Obviously, I still have the experience as a person, but what I'm trying to say here is that you can lose a company, because you cannot quit on yourself, right? You can't really quit on your personal brand, because it's just not. I mean, this is like you
yeah,
cannot delete. So this is not gonna end. So the only thing that what's left, what you're left with, is you as a person. What you've learned with what all those because those experience become stories you can share to your audience. Super valuable. It's like gold. I just found out how many stories I still have in my head that I haven't shared because they're in some corner of my mind. of which I threw away the key because I was ashamed because of what happened, right? Because I lost so much money, and in a way, I let down a lot of people because I couldn't pay it back when that happens. Banks and stuff like that. So there was a lot of guilt, shame involved, and so that's what. But in the end of the, this is you. I mean, it was me. I mean, so now I think a lot of guys have not the same challenge like this, but in a different problems, and they try to navigate this new space, this new digital nomad, digital economy space, in a way that they're, and then say, and then this is of course attractive, right? They see this on Instagram. Oh, that guy is here, and then with the, and then so yeah, it's attractive. It looks really attractive, and it can be. I'm not saying that a digital nomad life or this lifestyle is not desirable. It absolutely is, but it has very unique. It has some unique challenges, and I just wanted to just dial into one particular one that you mentioned on one of those Instagram videos you shared when you stopped being a digital nomad. Can you tell me more about that one?
Yeah, so I digital nomaded for almost 2 years, and then I decided to stop for lots of different reasons. I mean, a big one was it's hard to be productive. I mean, you're trying to decide, you go somewhere and then you're like, okay, you're still trying to eat healthy, so I got to buy groceries. And then, is there a gym? I just stopped working out for, I probably missed half my workouts during digital nomading. Um,
Yeah,
all like having any sort of routine. And also a big part, like people forget, is you still need to do something. Like you can't, digital nomading in and of itself isn't a goal. That's just the lifestyle outside of your job. So you still have to have some endeavor that you
exactly,
enjoy doing that digital nomading does not solve. And making
exactly,
content about traveling isn't that exciting to people unless you have some take on it or some
exactly.
special thing. Like
Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain was a travel, but food was his thing, and he had very hard opinions on food. So that's what made it so compelling. So
Yeah, I agree. Digital nomad is not a goal in itself. It's just a vehicle where it's just a way you pursue your goals. It should be
mhm.
something else. You should have a different. You should have a plan for the next 5, 10 years. What are you going to build? What are you going to create?
Yeah.
What kind of a life? Who are you going to benefit with what you're building? Right. So those are the questions you have. You still have to ask yourself. But there's yeah, so first of all, I totally agree. This productivity is an issue. There's this one saying that I want to just share. You might have heard is that if you can take one decision that eliminates 1,000, then then this is obviously the best thing you can do, because you have to decide over and over again the same things that take up space in your mind every day, like where to go, where you go to the gym, where do you go for your grocery, where do you go bring your laundry, and so on, right? So this can this adds up, and then you're just not productive anymore. um, a workaround that I have for that is creating base camps in different countries where you already know everything. So for me, that's Bali, that's Thailand, and that's Vietnam. So I know these places. I have friends there in each place. I know where I go. And I have different Airbnbs where I can just move in, and I know where everything. So it's just like coming back from vacation or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's what's working for me. Um, but yeah, the productivity issue is still there to a certain degree. It's not the same. I've written extensively about this, and for me there's the three main challenges all digital nomads face is this: uncertainty. Uncertainty is also a big one. Uncertainty translates to we're humans. We're terrible at managing uncertainty. We're just not good at it. We hate it. Our brain is allergic to it, and so the bigger the more tolerant you become. I think Tony Robbins said this in one, I forgot the exact saying, but something along the lines of, the more you can tolerate uncertainty in your life, the bigger um, the more happy or something like your life becomes, or something like that. But the thing is that we're not good at it. We don't have, that's actually in your brain, and this is scientifically proven, that we have a part in our brain is built for to handling uncertainty, because we're so bad at it. So it's and that if you travel, if you engage in this lifestyle, and especially if you don't have everything solved, like your financial freedom, or if you're still trying to get somewhere in a way that your you're planning to become better, then it's a problem because everything changes all the time. It's like new day, new game, like everything around you change, and then this is stressful. We don't hard to. I mean, this sounds like, how can I say? It's not totally clear to you, someone who does not hasn't experienced this. But if this constant change happens all the time, it screws up your mind in some way. It does. It really does. So people
Hmm.
get depressed, and they don't know how to live with this problem. Number two is the problem that comes. This a part of this productivity issue is that the need for more self-discipline. You really have to have more and digital nomad lifestyle is essentially at odds with one. You know this book, Atomic Habits? The rule number three, I think it is make it easy. Make it easy basically says you want to structure your day in a way that all these things that you have to execute on a daily basis that need to happen, make it easy. And this is the problem. This is why you didn't go to the gym, because it's not easy to do this. And when you're on a travel schedule, and then this make it easy rule is being violated all the time. And so that's why most guys, when they become digital nomads, they're just not productive because they don't have the discipline necessary to execute anyway. And then and this is number two. And number three, the other big challenge is loneliness. Like it's just a thing. If you do this, nobody's gonna. I mean, it's very few digital nomads I know that do this all the time in as a couple. It's just not many. And so you're basically all the way alone in a country. Nobody knows you, and so you have to have this. This is particularly. I think maybe in part it's because 90% of nomads are men and not women. Because as men we still have to. Because as men we are brought up to initiate conversations, but otherwise nobody talks to us. And this is true even if you live I mean, I don't know, in California. It's pretty it's really, if you're a guy and you're shy, you're fucked. This is
Yeah.
true for basic. This is like in I mean, if I say like bold in a bold way, it's just true. And it's
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
more true if you're a guy who engages in solo travel, or if you can become a digital nomad. If you're not able to talk to people, like walk up to a guy in the street and make a conversation and then it's a problem. It's a real
Hmm.
problem because you need
Yeah. I mean,
to. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, when I traveled, like growing up, I was shy, like as a kid, and I kept trying to like stop it, or like because it's a problem. Like, yeah, you definitely don't want to grow up being shy. Um, and really now, just in my early 30s, have I been like resolving it. Now that I'm here in Phoenix, I go to networking events. I've already made like a couple friends, networking with people, meeting people, but I was never able to do it. And like with meeting girls, it was always just using apps, like, just
This
on
is.
Bumble, on Hinge. So that those apps kind of make it easier in a way because it connects you. But as far as just
Yeah.
in general, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally true. And but yeah, so those are the three big ones. I mean, and the sort of the thing is that when you have like when you when you are in a fixed location, and maybe even in the town where you grew up, where you've been all your life, then there's this social circle element that it's just there, right? It doesn't have to. I mean, I'm not even saying that this is always a good thing. Sometimes you can have shitty friends. It would be better you walk away, because the person you spend most time with is the person you will become. And so for a lot of guys, maybe for some people it's not good. So it's not for everyone, what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. You need to learn to develop that skill of making friends easily. I've developed this because I also was in the dating space, in the dating coach space. One of my best friends is a famous dating coach from Spain. You were in Spain, right? I don't know if you have heard of Alvaro Reyes. He's got 1.5 million on YouTube, and I lived in my house in Mexico for a long time. We were good buddies, and I know Mystery, for example. You know Mystery from
Yeah, yeah.
I know him personally. Hang out with him for a while, and so I know the dating scene. And so I've just let that. I mean, I learned that before, right? I can just walk up to a girl and talk to her, and if and so I have no problem with it. So this is how I overcome my loneliness problem. When I feel like the need of connection, I just go out and talk to people, and that solves it. But if you can't do that, then it's a real problem because
Yeah,
you're not.
yeah, I had that problem. Like in Playa del Carmen, I'd walk around. I mean, unless I met some girl on an app, I wouldn't be able to like go around, just talk to someone up front. So
Yeah, yeah, it's normal. This is why dating coaches have make money because and we're not teaching guys to be sociable, and it's gotten worse and worse because now everyone is buried in his face into fucking these devices that are just taking away attention, and when they in reality they should be talking to people. So,
yeah, and I mean
I mean,
with
mhm.
content creation and digital nomading, it makes us think that, well, the only thing I need to do is post content and I don't have to talk to anybody, which you can. I mean, you don't have to make connections with people. Technically, you could just post content online, but it helps to meet other creators and entrepreneurs.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it depends when you're. I mean, we're talking about. We're not talking about only about how to how to amass followers. We're talking about how to be happy, right? We're talking. This is about okay, how can I make this happen and at the same time not be fucked up in my life, right? So this is the question, and so you should be talking to people because that's how people relate. I mean, social media isn't real. It's just not real. It's toxic for the most part, and I mean, as a creator, it's great, but as a consumer, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah, and
reality.
that
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Most
So,
content isn't helpful. I mean, that's why I started creating content too. It's like a lot of content just isn't that helpful.
so it's a curse, and it's a curse, and at the same time, it's a blessing, I guess, in the modern world.
Yeah.
If you know how to regulate your consumption and tune it down, I don't know, to 5% and 95% creation, it's awesome, right?
Hmm.
If you can like develop a skill where you filter out the crap and then just consume the good stuff that's actually like adding some value to your life because there are a ton of the creators out there who actually provide value, right? But, Alex Hormozy or um, uh, the Tony Robbins, and there's a lot of creators that are awesome, right? You should follow them and maybe you should consume their content, but still, your focus should be on creation, not on consumption.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so this is my and especially if you're on your own and in some other country or and there's tons of things. What's also, I mean, opportunities are there all the time because stories unfold every day if you pay attention. It's just like noticing, like, I mean, especially when you're in different countries, there's a lot of things that go on happen, and it's the small things that make the best stories. Actually, this is something I. This is one guy. Have you heard about Matthew Diggs? He's also he wrote a book called Storyworthy. Really recommend that one.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
It's really good. I'm thinking about taking a consultant. He paid us $500 per hour with him. So maybe, yeah. But yeah. So, um, what else were we talking about? Yeah. Did I ask you about your challenge? What were your main challenges? Um,
Yeah. I mean,
as a
I
nomad.
kind of talked about the challenges that got me to create find fulfilling work, and then what
Okay.
got me to stop digital nomading was the
The
productivity
productivity.
thing, and then no sense of community. Like I realized for me, my environment has a huge impact. Just even the Airbnbs, like I would kind of do cheaper Airbnbs, you know? And I wasn't here in the US, so even here in the US, a cheap Airbnb was like 1500, 1800. When I went to Portugal, there it was like 1300, 1400. So still in Portugal, it wasn't that cheap in Lisbon and Porto. Um,
It isn't because it's Europe. Europe isn't cheap.
yeah.
There are just a few. I mean, there you can find if you wanna. There's still some cheap countries, relatively cheap, like Bulgaria or Albania. Those are the like east part of Europe. You find some reasonable prices, but all of Western Europe and especially Northern Europe is completely it's not affordable.
Yeah.
You need to make a lot of. I mean, the farther you go, the north, the more ridiculously expensive it becomes. Like the most. I've been twice, for example, in Iceland. as a photographer because it's just a fucking amazing country for photographers, but the prices there are nuts. I mean, it's really, I mean, for a normal meal in a restaurant, you don't get anything under 60, $70. Like, this is,
Jeez. Yeah, so I mean, there was that element of just trying to save money. Um, and then yeah, I needed my own environment. Like now that I have this apartment, I love it. I buy books. I set up like a bookshelf. I mean, little things like so I needed that to be productive. My own space, my own setup where I can
yeah.
create. That's how I've always done it. I wrote an entire album of music in my studio apartment in Portland, Oregon. Um, and so, which we're actually finally putting out in a couple weeks, like on Spotify. But so I
Oh,
needed my
cool.
own place. I needed to like have my own
So you
spot.
musician too? Are you
Yeah, so
musician?
we grew up like listening to the Strokes, the Arctic Monkeys, the Clash. So it's rock music. I play guitar and sing, and there's a
Oh,
drummer and a
cool.
bass player. So it's rock music.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah, it's Joy
Um,
Press if anybody wants to check it out. JOYPRESS. PRESS.
Awesome. Yeah. So for my audience, everything we talk about, I'm gonna put that into the newsletter, and I'm gonna share your links,
Okay.
including the one about finding fulfilling work. Can you
Mhm.
just, since I'm just mentioning it, can you just explain to the audience, I don't know, in 2 or 3 sentences, how they can sign up for find fulfilling work, and how they should what they can expect from it?
Yeah. So if they go on the website, findfulfillingwork.org, fulfilling is FULFILLING. Um, they can sign up for a newsletter, and I stopped sending that, but I'll be sending it starting again at the beginning of next year. I sent it for a year every week. It just got too busy. But in that newsletter, I'll send a few remote jobs, a piece of job search advice, and a piece of career advice. And I switch it around to like the last pieces, but I always try to make it very simple, very quick thing. You can also find a free resume template on there and a free guide, and this is on the website, and a free guide on like what you should do with your life. It's like I pull 5 different resources. One's from Tim Ferriss, one's from um, author of a
He was
book, and like,
Tim
mhm.
Ferriss is like the original nomad, right? Digital. He
Yeah,
he
yeah,
he made he made this term even I mean, and known in the space, right? Because a
yeah.
4 hour it's an old book already. This is old stuff already, right?
But yeah, it's
It's
such a great book. It's a fundamental book. I think everybody should read.
yeah,
Um,
I love Tim Ferriss. It's very great, very good. Okay, cool. And you've got like I saw 7,000 subscribers already, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, on
yeah, it's
your.
at 8,000 now it's about 50% open rate, so half of
Oh,
them,
that's cool. Yeah,
which is pretty good for newsletters.
it is. It is. I've got 50% as well. I went to 60, but I went down to 50 because I was experimenting a little bit. But yeah, it's newsletters are the most direct communication you can have with your audience. It's very personal. That's what I like
Mhm.
about it, and it's a relationship you build over time, like anything, but it's more. I think it's as opposed to social media. Newsletters are more. It's a more direct communication
Yeah.
that allows.
Yeah, I mean, if you post on social media, they may or may not see it, but if you send them an email, they will for sure get it.
Yeah, because most
So,
people we still open these emails like because we're thinking we're this, also with the spam filters getting better. So what's getting through are usually emails you. I mean, in my case, most of the time I open them. Yeah, so
mhm.
people are different, but in my case, um, okay. Is there any other something else you want to share with the audience that could be helpful for in terms of remote work, something that has worked for you in the past that would if someone is just, let's say, if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's not taken the leap yet, who's still thinking about, okay, I'm gonna do this, it's risky. Some
Mhm.
advice you want to share from your experience about this important decision?
Yeah. I mean, what they can do. For one, it's a great experience regardless. Um, what they can do is always test it out and go somewhere for a couple weeks and work from that location. You don't have to go crazy far. If you're in the US, go to Mexico. If you're in Europe, go to Asia or something like, or I guess Asia's pretty far, but depends on where you are. Go somewhere and see how it feels and test it out. That's the best way to know. And if you're
Yeah.
trying to find a remote job that you don't have yet, um, I mean, my first remote job was customer support. I wasn't a programmer or anything. I was a customer support rep. So that's how I broke in. But they're out there. There's remote jobs out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. I think it's obvious that you can't go on that journey without having some sort of income, right? It's not just not feasible.
Hmm.
So you need to have some already something in place that allows you to live, at least getting under. You can go. It depends on where you go, but like if you go to Vietnam, the Southeast Asia, or some countries, you can live with $1,000 a month maybe if you're good at saving money and not spending too much. It's like the limit would be, but less is hard anyway.
Yeah.
Like so.
And it takes time. Like I started posting on TikTok in 2020. It probably wasn't until 2022 that I started really making money from it. So lots of advice online tells people you can make $1,000 a month within 1 month. It's not really possible unless you get a job or if you go on Upwork and get a freelance gig that pays you 1,000, which is possible. But I don't think people should try and make money from, not that they shouldn't try, create making money from creating content, from posting on TikTok, newsletters, YouTube. That's a long game, which they
No,
should
also
play, but just understand that it takes at least 6 months, if not a year, 2 years, to make a
yes,
$1,000 a month of real income.
yeah, and it's also the wrong approach. I think it's not the right approach. The right approach is to think about something you wanna like create in forms of value that you want to create. It might be a business about whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then you want to use social media to direct traffic from social media to that project, and not just for the sake of being on those platforms, because there's not even your space. It's like rented space. And so,
Mhm.
and if you don't have a clear objective in mind, it's not going to pay anytime soon. I think it's just going to be, even if you get viral, doesn't having a lot of followers doesn't equate money at all. I mean,
No, not at all.
no, at all. I remember one particular guy from the Netherlands I met in Bali. This guy, he had like 150,000 on in TikTok. It didn't make a cent. It's just
Yeah.
random people. There's also a big difference between sharing entertainment, dumb shit on the, sorry for my Spanish here, on the internet, like just talking random stuff into the camera, and educate your audience on some topic, right? So
Correct.
if you have this completely different ballgame, if you have an educated audience versus an numb, like only just scrolling entertainment.
Yeah.
If you have some, if they know you because they know you for a skill you have, and can drive that to your mailing list and make money from it easily. But if you have just people random on, they clicked on, this is different. So you need to start with something. I think the best approach is to have a goal where you, and then use social media as leverage to fill your funnel.
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly the point you made is one not enough people make, which is if you make entertaining content, that isn't really going to make much money, and you will for sure not get brand deals, and that's how a lot of TikTokers make money. I guess from TikTok views, it kind of pays people in the creator fund, but um, do you want to spend the rest of your life just making bullshit videos is the question. And I grew up doing stand-up comedy. I did stand-up comedy, but even
Oh,
now I'm
really?
like, I'm happy I don't do entertaining content because I like what I do. Well, I love talking about career. I can talk about it until I'm 80, 90 years old. I'll be posting about the same topic
Okay.
because I just love it. So that's kind of what you want to find, something that you can talk about and that's relevant for, it could be sports, it could be video games, even, which is also kind of entertainment, but still as an industry.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting. I admire stand-up comedians because they have this ability to. Um, I mean, it requires a lot of improvisation, like creative, a very
Mhm.
creative mind, and you need to be very in tune with a lot of things. I think it's a great skill to develop, and it's very, yeah, it's authentic. Well, the good ones, at least, they are very authentic, right? And they can drive
Yeah.
a lot of engagement because it's
And
yeah,
even the best comedians, they have something to say. They're not the other comedians who are just talking about bullshit or airline food. They're the ones that are making people see things differently. So
yeah.
even in the realm of comedians, there's the ones who just kind of are saying whatever and yeah, it's funny, but who cares? Versus the ones who are really making a point about something in the human experience.
Yes, yes, and I think the best ones are those who don't fear they're going further. They blow the line between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. They use these sometimes really harsh and horrible stuff, like, and they make fun of that.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to have some balls to do that. I mean, this is why my two favorite comedians is Bill Burr, and then there's this English guy, the one that did the speech after on Hollywood. What's the guy?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, you know who you might. Yeah, you know
I know what you're
the
talking.
guy.
He was the office guy. He was the guy in the
Yes,
office.
yes. I forgot the name, but you know, he told
Yeah.
basically every celebrity in Hollywood how full of shit they are, and and just take their Grammy and fuck off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
And
there's a
sometimes
whole compilation on YouTube.
oh man, this is so good. I mean, imagine the size of his balls to walk up on the stage and then tell them this. I mean, they were like flaw. Like,
Yeah.
that's very
Norm
good. So yeah,
Macdonald did that too.
yeah, he was also good at this.
Norm
Yes.
Macdonald also did those speeches and he was very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's an awesome conversation we're having. I think we can wrap it up. Before we do, I wanna also encourage the audience to sign up to both YouTube channels and subscribe and comment and all of it and share it and what else? What else should we tell them?
Smash that like button.
Smash
Smash
that
that
like button.
subscribe.
Yeah, smash it and also come back next time and sign up to my newsletter because that's where you got all the good stuff. There's the link, Michael's link for find fulfilling work, and yeah, and I've got more stories coming up very soon with interesting personalities. Okay,
Awesome.
thank
Cool.
you so
Thanks,
much,
Roman.
Michael, and
Appreciate it.
yeah, talk to you soon.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. I just stopped the recording.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Um,
That was good. It
so
was even
that
better than the first one.
yeah, that was awesome. And this kind of gives it, it'll give it to us in the quality of your video on